can introduce it.
I shall. You ready?
Yes.
Action.
Are we gonna start? Go. Introduce it.
Okay. Welcome! And today we are going to go over the question, would you still love your partner if they were fat?
Would ya? This is going to be unedited, guys, because we want to be raw, okay? I know a lot of videos out there are super edited and green screens and trying to, I don't know, filters, and we're just making it raw.
Yes. So, would you still love your partner if they were fat?
Ladies first.
So, first of all, I think it's kind of important to define what love means in this context. So, for me, throughout my vast experience with love in my life, I've experienced like different levels of love and different types of loves and different phases of my life. So I think in order to answer this question properly, you first have to understand that I think there's different levels of love, and I think love evolves over time. I think that's important to know because, a question like, would you still love your partner if they were fat? I think that has lots of levels to it. I think it's important to know that love has different levels too. So the answer isn't just black and white and simple. What do you think?
Holy crap, you made that super complicated.
That's how my mind works.
Madison is super in depth, and I'm super glazed over. So what I think love is I think there's a traditional definition, and then I think there's Madison and I's definition of love. So I think the traditional definition is unconditional, right? So unconditional means I'm going to love you no matter what. If you're green, you're blue, you're sick, you lose one leg, hopefully you don't, through all of that, you still love that person, okay? And that's actually not the case for us. Our relationship is very conditional. It's very conditional. And actually most relationships are very conditional. So
they just don't admit that they are.
Yeah, they just don't admit that they are, right? One thing that, on a side note, Madison and I use for each other to know what we want for love is we do a cheat sheet. So she writes out her perfect day, I write out my perfect day, and we see what we can do for each other. And those are conditions to make us feel that we're loved. Does that make sense? Right? So what I think love is respect, right? And that's a very, very profound thing. I think just respecting that individual for their growth, who they are right now, evolving, right? And that's what I think love is, respect. And obviously that's going to change, but that's how I feel right now. So I'm speaking my truth right now. So getting into it, Madison, since she's a lady, so ladies first, I feel very comfortable, got my feet kicked up. You will start. Would you still love your significant other if they were fat? Clickbait.
Clickbait. So this is such a big question. I think my first answer would be no, I would not. And I think there's two parts. Here's my mind going over it again. If he were fat or overweight when I met him, I wouldn't have been attracted to him. Not because the traditional judge a book by its cover, but simply when I met him, I was in college and I was in school for a fitness and health program. I was interested in fitness and health, and I went to the gym, and it was part of my life. And so that, someone who's overweight or fat in this context, I wouldn't be attracted to because it doesn't align with my lifestyle. So in that sense, in the beginning, no. Now, if, we got fat now, would I still love him? Yes and no. It's super complicated, right? Yes, in the fact that, I've committed to Ryan, I've committed to loving him and learning him. But for him to reach that point, it means more than just a physical appearance to me. It embodies a lot of values and traits and characteristics that I hold in high standard about myself, that I also see in Ryan. And for him to reach that point, it means those characteristics and those traits are no longer there. And those traits and those characteristics are some of the reasons that I have fallen in love with him and have chosen to start a life with him and have a future with him. So if it's something where, he puts on weight and he's overweight, we would work through it together and bring it back. But if it was I'm overweight and that's how I am and that's how it's going to be, that's not an attitude or a lifestyle that I align with and I can't continue to be a part of. But one of the reasons we do so well together is because we really don't use a filter with each other. If we have something to say, if we're upset, if one of us is letting each other down or not living up to expectations, we nip it in the bud right away. So, this question is true for a lot of people because, obesity is plaguing the world, plaguing North America at least. So this is very prevalent to a lot of people, but I think in our relationship, we would never let it get to the point of being obese. We would call each other out before then. And that's why we love each other. We can have flaws, we can make mistakes, but you sure as hell know we're going to call each other out on it, no matter how uncomfortable it is, and then change going forward. So if X makes Ryan happy and I want to make Ryan happy, then I do X, and vice versa. And that's why we're so strong. And that's why, I think even though right now we've been together about 5 years, it feels like 20 because we have fast tracked the way we communicate, the way we work together, and we don't sugarcoat anything. Yeah.
Well, I think I want to add a little bit on to Maddie's comment is like, you can easily twist and screw what she said, right? This is her.
Yeah. And by the way, before this, I never thought about my answer to this. This is all on the fly. I don't know about you. I didn't think about my answer to this. We're like, this is the question we're going to answer and go.
Yeah. So it's easy to twist and screw what she has to say. And obviously it's going to evolve, right? Like any relationship, just like your body goes through changes, right? You might get overweight and just like a relationship, it goes through changes. Obviously this is how we feel and this is our truth right now. And so my time, would I love my significant other if they were fat, right? And so I would still love my significant other if they were fat, right? And especially since I coach women, and especially since we coach women, we realized a lot, right? And coaching is really a transformation of yourself, right? It's just elevating your mind and then your body follows. And so with that being said, when you usually call somebody fat, they like to twist and screw it, and they think it's being called ugly. You don't like me because of my physical appearance. No, I think you're beautiful, but you're fat. Okay? That's just a blatant term to put it. You're overweight. You have enough weight on you to grab, to pull. You feel uncomfortable. You feel tension. You feel bloated. You don't feel good about yourself. That's overweight, right? I sit at 220 pounds, and I'm considered obese, but I don't feel uncomfortable. Right? It's when you start feeling uncomfortable, that gross feeling you have, right? And so I would love my significant other if they were overweight. And let's say they go through a period of their life, especially with women, they go through pregnancy, right? And then they become overweight, and then they may feel unattractive, right? Especially to their significant other. Remember this, you're overweight, you're not unattractive. There are two differences. Right? There are two big differences. And that's what I kind of want to touch on, right? And that's where I'm coming from, because if Madison were very overweight, the heaviest she got was 200 plus pounds, and she's dropped her weight. She lost over 70 pounds, and she started her own gym, and she's helped thousands of women.
And you've gained weight through the process as well.
Yeah,
and I gained weight. Ryan gained weight as well. So we've been there.
I think the definition of overweight is more prevalent for women. I think it's more accepted for guys to be overweight. That's just because you see guys with beer kegs and all that stuff, and they're more accepting of it, where women aren't. And I think it's a good and bad thing. So I would still love my significant other if they were overweight. I think it's my job and my duty and my responsibility to lead. And the only way to lead is through action and by yourself. So I could easily preach to Madison, you need to lose weight, you need to join the Queen Academy or coaching, you need to do all these things, but that's never going to work. Myself as a significant other, I need to take care of myself. I need to be healthy. Then in turn, my mentality, my attitude, my positivity is like a magnet. And then in turn, she wants to get healthy, right? No one wants to be preached to. It doesn't work. And so that would be my approach. And I think it's a very sensitive question, and you've got to applaud people that really ask this question themselves. So the first thing is to get defensive when you hear this question. So what I challenge you to do is ask yourself this question, like, how would you feel, right? And it's a very selfish question, and women tend to not be selfish. They tend to be very altruistic. What if your significant other are fat, huge, massive, obese, but you still love them? They can't do as much. They can't be as much.
Well, that's what it is. Being overweight is a mindset. Being fat is a mindset. It's a symptom of a deeper problem. So if somebody is overweight, is considered fat or obese, there's a bigger problem than just their physical appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And it means something more. It means they're lacking something. They're struggling with something. And that's where the problem comes in. Most people think the problem is being fat, but in fact, the problem is something else. So you can't treat the symptom, right? You can't go to a doctor's office and say, "Doc, I have insomnia. What can you do?" And they can't prescribe you coffee. That's not how it works. You can't treat the symptom. You have to treat the root cause. So I think the question, would you still love your partner if they were fat? Well, you have to sit down and then ask yourself, like, what would make them become fat? What's that flaw that would turn in and show up in the form of weight gain? And I think that's how the best way to approach it. And, it's things like laziness, lack of motivation, lack of knowledge, genetics, whatever, ton of different things causing this overweightness, this fatness. And then it's like, well, can that be fixed? And do you want to put in the effort to fix it? And I think for us, the answer is 100% yes. But I also think that's not an excuse to allow ourselves to get to that point.
Yeah. And to go back, and what I said is every relationship is conditional, right? We want to love people unconditionally. And we see it all the time when one person does one thing wrong to somebody, right? Let's say, I accidentally put 3 creams in Madison's coffee instead of 2. She doesn't like me for the day, right? And that goes for everything in life, right? And so we want to love people unconditionally, but that's just not the case. Every single relationship is conditional, even the ones with your parents, right? You act accordingly, you act nice, you be the person that they want you to be, and they'll be your parents. But there's some cases where kids don't do anything that their parents say, and they don't have a good relationship. And the same thing with a significant other. If I'm out partying every night and drinking and let's say not being home, all that stuff, and I'm still in a relationship, I'm not doing the things that are conditional to be in a relationship. Does that make sense? And I always say this to the Fit Queens, because mostly Fit Queens are going to watch this video, is that you have a responsibility. And so let's say you're a mother. When you enter motherhood, you can't not be a mother anymore. If you act like you're not a mother, then you won't have kids anymore. If I act like I'm not in a relationship, then I won't have a relationship anymore. If I act like I don't have a healthy relationship with my body, then I'll become overweight, right? I'll lose my frame, I'll lose my shape, I'll lose this, right? And so it's very important to understand that everything you do in life is conditional. It's based on this. And we always say it, and I've always said it to all the clients I've had. When Madison and I had our fitness facility and we were training like over 100 people at a time, we would always tell them the hardest muscle isn't the legs to train or the core or the back, it's your mind. It's your mind, right? And so it's very important. And here's a little trick I do for my relationship. Whenever I'm upset or angry, I always talk about it right away. I never let it boil up inside. I always talk about it right away, over communicate. Over communicate. And what I do is I always think about the good things the person did for me, right? And so that's a great way for having a positive mindset, because negativity is like a cancer. It bleeds. That's why overweight people hang out with overweight people, right? And that's why anybody that's watching this, any ladies watching this, and if you're still here, is we have a Fit Queen community of positive, like-minded people that are pushing themselves to become better. You want to be in those positive communities that push you to be where you want to be. Does that make sense, ladies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to wrap it up?
Sure. Any last thoughts about what you'd say? I think it's just like, again, I think the biggest point is like, would you still love your significant other if they were overweight? We can all agree you shouldn't be overweight, period. Like, it's not healthy. It's sacrificing your quality of life, yours and your family's. So period. It's the bad thing. You shouldn't do it. It's hurting you and your family. Does it affect the way that you love somebody? No. I mean, Ryan and I are such in a deep connection where physical appearance is the lowest on the list of things that attract us to each other. Mm-hmm. It's on the low. But, overweight to us is not a physical problem. It's a much, much bigger problem that's not okay with us. That's where the problem comes in. What's that big problem? Because that big problem coming out in the symptom of gaining weight, that is a big challenge, and that could threaten the relationship. That big problem that causes you to gain weight, whatever it is, you have to figure that on your own. Whatever that is, that threatens the relationship. That can change a person to the point where they're not who you thought you were. So that's something that we always have to look out for. And that's why communication is so important. And that's why having these conversations and setting expectations is important. I think too many people hope for the best, but they don't plan for the best. They keep it up here, right? I expect X, Y, and Z from my partner, but I haven't told them I want it. I want them to just read my mind, right? But you have to have the uncomfortable conversations. Ryan and I expect each other to stay healthy. We expect each other to take care of ourselves, take care of our physical appearance, to personally grow in our career, in our love life. We're always putting ourselves in situations where we grow, because I find growth attractive. He finds growth attractive, and we both have big goals in life, and we want to take each other with us. You know, maybe we'll grow at different levels. Maybe there'll be some points where we have to carry each other, but we all have this bigger goal in mind. And then that, you know, that problem manifesting in becoming overweight, that threatens what we're building. So that needs to be addressed. So yes, we still love each other. It's not acceptable for us, but it's something we would work through, and something we realize is a deeper issue that I don't think we would struggle with, because we would nip it in the butt early on.
Yes.
But if you are listening to this and you are maybe you are overweight, or maybe your significant other is overweight, what you should take away from this video is, well, that's just a symptom. What's the real problem? And what damage is that real problem doing? And is it fair to my significant other? And I think that's what we want to get at from this video.
Whenever there is a breakdown, you're going to go through a breakthrough. It's your choice whether or not you want to go through that breakthrough. Well, ladies, we're going to sign off. And men, whoever watching this, we're going to sign off. And if you watch the whole video all the way through, go ahead and like, subscribe, okay? And guys, I want to say thank you so much.
Diets are dead. Mind makeovers are in. Bye, ladies and men.